Hi, thank you. Welcome to the 27th Annual Library Foundation Author Luncheon. Let's give ourselves a big hand. My name is Lori Dorman, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the Library Foundation. And on behalf of all of our foundation board members, we want to give a huge thank you to all of you for coming out and supporting us again once more. This has been an incredible 3-year run. This is the 3rd year in a row that we have had more than 400 people come out and support the libraries. Thank you so much. I have so many people that I need to thank today, and I'm going to start with our fantastic sponsors. Our first sponsor at the author level is Bright House Networks. Bright House, thank you so much. And actually, I'm going to ask you to hold your applause until the end. We are so blessed to have so many great sponsors. Our editor level sponsor, our first and foremost, is Anonymous. We know who you are, and we thank you so much. The Bradenton Herald is also an editor level sponsor. Appropriate that an editor is our newspaper. Thank you for being here once again. We have 3 scholar level sponsors. They are Baker, Paul, and there's some chick whose last name is like Dorman. So thank you, Baker, Paul, and Dorman. Blaylock Walters, PA, is here again. Thank you so much. Green, Hamrick, Perry, Quinlan, and Shermer, PA, thank you. They have been a longtime sponsor of ours as well. Our avid reader sponsors this year are Doctors Hospital of Sarasota, a new sponsor, Hendrick Honda of Bradenton, Mark Lipinski, PA, Malden and Jenkins, CPA, Palmetto Riverside Bed and Breakfast, and Wagner Realty. Our patron-level sponsors are Blake Medical Center, First American Bank, Eva and Kevin Heeken, Manatee Community Foundation, and Schroeder Manatee Ranch. Let's give them all a humongous thank you. I am not sure when our partnership with METV started, but I can tell you that we are an incredibly lucky community. METV is here once again, and to Charles Clapsaddle and all his crew, please thank them so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you very, very much. We could not put on this event without the incredible library friends groups. Each of our Manatee County libraries has a friends group that supports their library and supports the incredible things that our libraries do. I'm going to ask if you are a member of a friends group. I'm going to announce them all. If you would please stand. The member of our library friends for Braden River Friends, the Friends of the Central Library, Rocky Bluff Friends, the Friends of the Island Library, the Palmetto Friends, and our South Manatee Friends. You all, thank you so much for helping to support us and to support our libraries. I know a lot of you here are book group readers and book group members. I'm not going to ask you to stand. There's too many of you, but if you would, just wave your hand if you're a member of a book group and you're here. We see lots of hands. Thank you so much for coming. See, you're all here. All right. Our library director, Ava Eady, cannot be here today. I am giving her a shout out by video. Hi, Ava. Ava is in Indianapolis. All the programs and innovation that Sherry's going to talk to you about in just a minute, Ava is our catalyst, and we are so fortunate to have her. So let's give her a long distance thank you, Ava. Our Library Foundation has an incredible board of directors. We have some of the most amazing men and women who are here today. They support the Library Foundation and they make fundraising their priority. If you're a Library Foundation board member, would you please stand? Thank you all. Last but not least, these are the people who make sure you have a place to sit, that you are seated next to nice people, that you get checked in, that you know where to go. These are our library services and neighborhood services staff members. We are a very, very lucky group. I keep saying that we're lucky, but we really are. Sherry, if you could have all of your wonderful people stand up, we would love it. To library services and neighborhood services, please stand up so we can thank you. So this is the third year that we have been out here at Lakewood Ranch, and every year we've added a little something new. I think you all have seen our raffle baskets. They are out in the lobby. We have 12 fantastic baskets, plus a 13th surprise basket. Make sure that you put your ticket stub in it. This year we also have 2 silent auction items. We have a library book house that is full of gift certificates. Oh look, food. That is full of gift certificates and books and wonderful things, as well as a great basket donated by Crowders. If you have not put your bids in for the silent auction, please do so before our authors start speaking. The library silent auction will close when our author starts. Talking about new things, has anybody seen this in your program, a little green card or a pink card or a yellow card? This tells us that you love your libraries. We want everyone to know how important libraries are to you, and one of the ways you can do that is by filling out this card and marking off whether you're willing to be a volunteer, to make a donation, to serve on our board. Show us that you care. If you would, please fill out the library I Love Libraries card. So I went to a talk on Monday, and this very nice woman stood up to make an introduction, and she had page after page after page. And I thought to myself, you know, I could do that. I could just keep talking and talking and talking. But I'm a much nicer person than that, and I'm not going to bore you by standing up here and making this into the Lori Show, although that would be a good name for a television show, maybe. Okay, apparently not. So I'm going to introduce you to my good friend, Sherry Corrier. For the past 24 years, Sherry has been an incredible supporter of Manatee County. She was the first Children's Services Director for Manatee County government, and since 2007, she's been the Director of Neighborhood Services. She loves horses, she loves her family, she's the mother of 2 beautiful daughters, and she adores her hometown right here, Bradenton. She's also a graduate of Indiana University and a proud Hoosier. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please welcome my dear friend, Sherry Corrier.
Now, I got the honor of being here today because, as Lori mentioned, Ava Eady, our wonderful library services manager, is in Indianapolis. Isn't that weird? Shouldn't I have swapped with her and maybe gone there and seen my hometown? She's up there presenting some of the innovative ideas that have been underway with our library. So I wanted to cover that with you. I think you've been seeing that a lot of the innovation has been playing on the video out in the Florida room, and you've probably seen some while you've been waiting. But what's interesting about all this is in 2009, the library division became a part of our Manatee County Neighborhood Services Department. And some people thought that might be a little odd. Also, other divisions that we have in the department are Economic Development, Community Development, and our Neighborhood Planning Division. So with that, you might understand why it was a good fit. The library division has the most contact with the community each day, and all of the other divisions are in contact with the business and neighbors, etc. The organizational change that was undertaken then paved the way for the library system to broaden its basis of service, incorporating these areas. Our library statistics continue to reflect record use. Over 3 million uses of our resources during this past year, and that's incredible. And we are on track to reach about 3.5 million in 2014. And in a demanding and ever-challenging economy, keeping pace with these records is very, very important to have partnerships. And the Library Foundation and today's event is such a wonderful partnership because we can't meet all the demand that is out in the community. The e-resources have exploded. With the innovation, our library patrons can access our catalog 24/7 as well as ebooks. In fact, the library webpage, and this is really important to remember, is the #1 most popular webpage for Manatee County, and that is so exciting to us. Another innovation. Through the financial assistance from the Library Foundation, those e-resources have improved the public's ability to access all those online resources. So again, thank you with the partnership. In order for us to expand in innovation, though, we have to have some priorities, and we have to also look at our staff. We have wonderful staff, as Lori mentioned and introduced, but we had 12 employees this year graduate from the county's Leadership Academy and 2 more from the state's Library Leadership Institute. Our staff members at all levels serve on many planning committees in the community, and that's something that we broadened. They have been job swapping as part of the cross-training, so you might see some of your favorite librarians that were at Rocky Bluff at the South Manatee branch. You just never know. This has really helped out, and it makes them understand the patron base. Now more than ever, we advocate for our services, programs, training opportunities, and all of the other exciting programs in innovation. We're providing leadership tours, speaking engagements, partnerships in community events, and visiting schools throughout the community to talk about our free fee-based services. Continuing to do more with less is emphasis and the importance of our partnership with the foundation in today's event as well. Partnerships are key in other areas as well, and we're working to outreach to other sources. SCORE, Suncoast Workforce, One Stop, the Goodwill Services, AARP, and others. And this is how we link up with helping people find jobs in the community and access their own resources. So as our programming gets better, we've served close to 1,000 teens and their families that attend our recent Manacon comic book. Anybody go to the Manacon? Next year, you got to dress up and come because it's a very fun event, very exciting. That particular event, though, allowed for our library to receive the 2013 Betty Davis Young Youth Award. That was a very innovative concept and a great testament to the staff. The library's continued involvement, it's heartwarming to me, and it really is, to still see parents and their kids coming into the library to read books together. Even with the advent of our expanding e-resources, it's still difficult to meet everyone's needs. But I would have to say that when we were announced as this 2013's recipient of the Florida Innovative Library of the Year, it was so rewarding to both the staff and all of you as a community because you made that possible. So let's give them a hand. And lastly, I'd like to say, you know, we hear a lot, who needs libraries anymore? It's something that people ask us every day. The staff, the volunteers, and many advocates of our library system look forward to answering that question in 2014, continuing an innovative year, and to thank you all so much for attending today's wonderful event. Thank you.
Thank you. This is going to be a little interactive part of our program, and I'm just going to have you put your hand up when I ask a question, and the answer is yes. Raise your hand if you love the library. Okay, wait, there's someone over there that did not raise their hand. I mean, really? Thank you. Table 21, I just saw you put it up this way. Yeah, that's you. I saw that. Raise your hand if you use the internet. Raise both hands if you can do the 2 things at the same time. Use the internet and still love your library. I was asked a question earlier by a reporter from the Bradenton Herald who said, seriously, you know, in the age of the internet, why do we still need libraries? I said, well, let me tell you. Libraries are the most democratic of institutions. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have or what you do. You need the library. If you're like my friend Maggie with 2 beautiful little girls, you want to go to the library and you want to take them there so that they can see all these books and learn to read. If you're like my friend Jennifer, hi Jennifer, and your daughter is an amazing elementary school kid, you want to take her there so that she can start getting chapter books. If you're like my friend Mary Quinlan, hi Mary, and you're a big reader and you want to read something different from an author you don't know, you go to the library. There are so many things that our library does in addition to books. Raise your hand if you have checked out an ebook on our library. A lot of you. Well, the Library Foundation helps support that ebook system, Overdrive. That is one of the things that we do for the library. Raise your hand if you've ever borrowed a DVD from our library. A lot more of you. Yes, that's another thing that we do in conjunction with the library. What about an audiobook? Anybody like me who loves to listen to great books in the car? Yeah, our library does that too. So many people in our community, though, are not as fortunate as we are. They don't have computers at home. They don't have the internet at home. They have brand new iPads and they don't know how to use them. Do you know where they go to learn? They go to the library, exactly. There are teachers that honestly and truly want to hear what their kids have to say. They don't want their kids to spit back what they find on the internet, and they want them to go to the library and do research. We need our libraries. If you agree with me, I want to hear you clap. On your table, there is an envelope. It's blue or green or pink or something else. There's an envelope in the middle. In that envelope is where I want you to put these I love our library notes. Put your name on it. Better still, put some money in it. Put a check into that envelope and make it payable to the Library Foundation, because the Library Foundation is here to help our library. Every year, the Library Foundation donates money to the library to help support the programs that you love and you care about. Ebooks, Wi-Fi, everything that is there at the library, we want to help make it better, and we want you to get more out of it. And to do that, we need your help. Please, today, write a check. You are going to hear from a fantastic author. Do it in her honor. We want to thank Dottie Frank for coming here, and your donations help show that support. Okay, that is the end of my speech where I ask for money. But just in case you didn't hear me, write a check. Thank you. Okay, so you didn't come to hear me speak, but I want to tell you about a truly amazing woman that I met yesterday. She grew up on Sullivan's Island, North Carolina. South Carolina, oh my gosh, I'm going to hell. And apparently that is South Carolina. No, I'm kidding. She wrote in one of her books, she described South Carolina in the summer as hell. So let me start that again. This beautiful lady grew up in Sullivan's Island, South Carolina. She is the baby of a very big and loving family. She graduated from Bishop England High School in Charleston, and after college, she made her way up to the big city and became a buyer for a big department store. That chain knew that she was smart, that she was funny, and she was incredibly talented, and they kept promoting her up the chain until she became a vice president. Somewhere along the way, she met a wonderful man named Peter, and they fell in love, and she changed careers. She became what my mother calls the hostess with the mostest. She put on fundraising galas like this, like that. This is an incredibly talented woman. She had 2 beautiful children. Her son, William, who is unfortunately, and I'm terribly sorry, a law student right now. And her daughter, Victoria, who is a chef and just got engaged. When she was doing all of these wonderful things for her family, tragedy struck, and her mother passed away very suddenly. And her mother's house there are many siblings. They had to sell her mother's house. And she told her husband, I want this house on Sullivan's Island. I want to buy this house. And her husband said, you know, I don't think that's such a good idea. And so she said, fine, I'll do it. I will write a book, I will sell that book, and I will buy that house. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how Sullivan's Island was born. It was because this little lady decided, I don't have to take this anymore. I'm going to do what I want. Her book debuted at number 9 on the New York Times bestseller list, and she has been writing up a storm since. She is on book number 15 this summer. The Hurricane Sisters will be out, and I can't wait to read it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please join me in giving an incredibly warm Manatee County welcome for our author, Dorothea Benton Frank. Daddy.
My God, where'd all y'all come from? I'm going to take a movie, if you don't mind, because they're never going to believe this up in New York City. They said, how many people you got coming? I said, 425. And they said, what? I said, I'm telling you, they're coming. Okay, so I'm going to hit the go button, and I'm going to say, okay, so Manatee County, Florida, what are y'all reading right now? And I want you, if you bought a book of mine, I want you to hold the book up and go, Frank, okay? All right, here we go. This is really sick, I know, sorry. Okay, here we go. Oh my goodness, and here we are. They're never gonna believe this up in New York City. Manatee County, Florida. What are y'all reading this time of the year? All right, thank you very much. That is a riot. They're never gonna believe this. That's so funny. I wish my mother-in-law was here. She'd drop dead. No, she's a sweet thing. She really is. Y'all, the silent auction's gonna close. So I'm supposed to say that. And could you please put $2 in the envelope? And if you put your email address on the back of the envelope, I will send you an email to say thank you. So it'll raise a little more money for this very good cause. I have to turn my phone off just when I'm expecting a call from Oprah. Sorry about my hair. I had a really cute dress to wear too, but I was cold this morning, so I've been digging around in my suitcase, and this is what we got. But I am thrilled to be here. Oh no, she'd rather be in New Jersey, okay? Oh my God, it's gonna snow again on Monday. You don't understand. This is the worst winter we've had in 25 years. So if you have anything going on down here January, February, March next year, you call me, I'm your girl. I mean, on the house, I'm coming down. Oh God, hey, Lori Dorman, thank you. Doris Pope, Scarlett Guy, and especially the library staff and all the nice people at HarperCollins for getting me here. I thought we'd talk about a couple of things, and then maybe if we have a few minutes, we could do a little Q&A, because that's much more fun than just me running my mouth, I think, anyway. I was going to tell you how I started writing, which is just about the truth. Not quite. Not quite. My mother passed away very suddenly in 1992, and it was devastating. I mean, I don't know how many of y'all have ever buried your mother, probably a lot of people in this room. It's the worst day of your life, you know, it just is. And after that, my siblings, God bless them, they wanted to sell my mother's house on Sullivan's Island to settle the family estate, and I got like hysterical, because for every year that I've lived in New Jersey, working off time in purgatory. I mean, let's be honest. You know, I've always brought my children back to Sullivan's Island, and if I couldn't stay at my mother's, we rented a house, because I wanted my children to know who they were. I wanted them to know their cousins and aunts and uncles and everything, so I did that. So when Mom left me high and dry, and they wanted to sell the house, I said to Peter, you know, you got to buy me this house. It's been in our family for almost 100 years. And I didn't want to lose my mother and my sense of place in the world all at the same time. And it was right after Hurricane Hugo. You may remember Hurricane Hugo. It was like Andrew. It was a bad one. And the real estate property on Sullivan's Island was depressed. I mean, you cannot believe you could have bought my mother's house. I mean, it was not the Taj Mahal. It was a nice little clapboard house with a tin roof. And you could have bought the house then for about $180,000. Okay, so Peter told me no. Big fat mistake, okay? Because I said, really? I didn't say fine. I said, bump you, Bubba. I said, I am going to write a book. I'm going to sell 1 million copies. I'm buying Mama's house back, and you're not coming in. He said, if you think I'm going to spend the rest of my life in your mama's house while all your crazy family comes over, sits on the porch, gets drunk, and falls off and tells the same stories over and over and over. Guess who's on the freaking porch, okay? His family. So it's a true story. So I sat down and I wrote Sullivan's Island, which is, I don't know how many of you have read it or heard of it or whatever, but yeah, it's a fun one, right? Thanks. It's a coming-of-age story that takes place in the 1960s, late against the 1990s. And because I grew up during the Civil Rights Movement and during the Women's Movement and during the Vietnam War, there was a lot going on, so by the time my children came along, they were living in this nice little bubble. They thought that they were entitled to everything in the world and they had no problems, and they didn't understand how long it took us to get to where they were so they could live that life. And I would say, you don't understand, when I was a kid, this went on, and they would say, oh, Mom, come on, this can't, you're exaggerating. Well, no, I wasn't. And Sullivan's Island, the novel, it treats the whole subject matter pretty lightly, really. There are other people who write deeper and darker novels than I do, for sure. But in any case, when it came out, it sold over 1 million copies, and it went back to press 25 times, and it's in 10 foreign languages, and it was the big, how do you like me now? Because imagine my mother-in-law's surprise, what she said to my husband? She said, she's going to leave you now. I said, no, I'm not leaving. I'm sticking around to torture everybody. Anyway, but what really happened that was wonderful for me was that a lot of people showed up from my past. Well, some of them it was great. It wasn't great that all of them showed up, but, and they said, it's true. How did you know our story? You must have been looking through the windows in my family's home to know these things so well. And so it just validated something in me that had been lost for the years that I gave up my career to raise my children and began to do community volunteer work, which, you can get sucked into that pretty big time and lose yourself, You sort of lose yourself if you don't have a career anymore. So it was very good for me to go back to work. And of course, the next thing that happened was I had a contract for 2 more books. And then everybody started being really nice to me and my family because they were worried I was going to write about them, which I'm going to. So my sister called me up. Anybody got a big sister? How many of y'all got a big sister? Okay, so you know the drill. My big sister calls me up and she says, so, you gonna write another book? This is after she read Sullivan's Island. I said, yeah. And she said, well, I just want you to remember something. I have to live here. I said, okay. So anyway, then of course, 9/11 came along and the bubble was burst for everybody, right? But so that was it. So look at my little notes here. Didn't she do a good job? Okay, so yeah, Sullivan's Island, da-da-da. Okay, so 3 things happened next. My mother said, I'm leaving. I got a contract for 2 more books. And my family got nervous. Oh my God, they got so nervous. It was really fun. It's still fun. Yeah. So people always ask me, how do you get ideas for books? That's the big question. The book, The Last Original Wife, how many of y'all have read that yet? Oh, good. Listen, don't miss this book. Here's a scoop on this book. My girlfriend, Anne, went to Rome with her husband. And they went out for a big lunch, and they were drinking a bunch of wine, and they were walking back to their hotel. And he's walking ahead of her because they've been married for, 30 years. And he doesn't hold her hand anymore, right? So she's walking down the street, and she falls in an open manhole. He gets the whole way back to the hotel before he realizes that she's not with him. She was pissed. She knocked herself out. She knocked her teeth out. She broke her collarbone. She was hurt, And you know me, you know what I said? I said, that's a book. So the story of The Last Original Wife is based on my friend Anne and this most unfortunate accident she had and how stupid her husband was about the whole thing. Oh my God. And then there's Folly Beach. I could tell you the story behind the books because I think that's always kind of interesting. Folly Beach, I'm on the board of the South Carolina Historical Society. I just want you to know about North Carolina, okay? babe, this belongs to you. Everybody north of Columbia is suspect in my family, okay? Oh, golly. So Folly Beach. So I'm on the board of the South Carolina Historical Society, and I have been for about 10 years. And they have many treasures in their stacks. And one of the things they had were all the Hayward papers. And the executive director said to me one day, you should really read the Hayward papers. And I said, okay. So, usually when someone tells you that's because they think there's something in there. If you can catch it, if you're smart enough, maybe it's worthy of being pushed a little further down the road. So, of course, the first thing I discover is that it was not George Gershwin who wrote Porgy and Bess, and it was not DuBose Hayward who wrote Porgy and Bess, but in fact, it was his wife, Dorothy Hayward, who adapted the book Porgy for the stage in 1928. And I thought, wow. And all these years, we've all thought it was Gershwin, but it was not. And in fact, Dorothy Hayward's adaptation of Porgy and Bess for the stage made more money than George Gershwin's production. So these are things we didn't know, and all sorts of other very interesting things about the Hayward family and their friendship with George Gershwin. It's always interesting to dig up historic figures and dust them off a little bit and see if they still have a little life in them and what they want to say. And when people leave their papers to an historic institution, they're really sort of asking you, have a look and what do you think about all of this, I think. And I thought, Dorothy Hayward still has a lot to say. So if you read that book and anybody wants to talk about Porgy and Bess and the Haywards, give me a call. You know where to find me. I'm not hard to find. So, I thought I'd tell you about this riser, because risers in my life have a history. Oh, this is such a terrible story. So after I wrote Sullivan's Island, and it was this big success, in the beginning of my career, some people asked me to come down to Florida to see another group. I can't tell you who it is because y'all know who it is, and then I'm a deep doo-doo, but anyway, God. So I said, okay, so they flew me down and they picked me up in this big limo and they put me up in this gorgeous hotel with a big, beautiful view of the water and everything. And so I go, and I've never heard of this group that I'm going to talk to, but it's some kind of a literary society. So I figure, how bad can it be? So I'm wearing a suit and high heels and stockings. I mean, this was a while ago. And, oh, Lord. So I get there, and there's a riser, and I look around this room as the guests start to come in, and the youngest person in the room, I swear to God, y'all, she was 105 years old. I'm not kidding. And I thought, all I could say to myself was, oh, my God, I better talk fast, because they're going, These guys are on the way out, so... Anyway, there I am in my stupid suit, my stockings and my pumps and the whole thing, and I come up this lousy riser. And normally, you have two big sections, and the seam will meet right in the middle of the riser, and they usually put a piece of tape or something, to not, so you don't have a big crack. So not this time. So I get up there and I'm talking and I'm looking at these people and they have no idea I'm in the room. They don't know me from a bucket of green paint. They don't even know where the hell they are. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I turn to this side of the room to say something and my heel goes down the riser. I'm on the floor. I mean, on the floor. Tore up the stockings, blood coming down the legs, the whole thing. I go, oh God, I'm done. No one's ever gonna ask me to speak in public again. So I get up. I look out at the audience, not one face had changed expression. Isn't that awful? Would you like to hear another book tour story? All right, so then I wrote my second book, Plantation, which did really well, praise God. And so I was going to get my kids from camp. And the book was in the airports, and it was in these cardboard stands that they called dumps, which is a very unfortunate term, but that's what they're called. And so it was everywhere, and it was blue. And it looked pretty, because a big old stand full of paperback books, and it looked really great. So Pat Conroy, who's my crazy friend, y'all probably know him and read his stuff. Yeah, he's great. He really is. Don't go crazy. He's got a fat head as it is. No, he does. He's a great guy. So he had just called me the week before, and he said, he calls me the dotted one. He says, oh, the dotted one. You're famous now. This is really how he talks in real life. Anyway, he does. So I said, oh, no, that's ridiculous. He goes, oh, no, just last week I was in the Piggly Wiggly. And I'm like, what are you doing in the grocery store? But he says, this man fell to his knees and said, I want to kiss the ring of the great Santini. And he said, sir, please get up, get up. He said, this will happen to you. I said, Pat, this will never happen to me. I look more like Nora Roberts than Nora Roberts, so it ain't happening. In fact, someone thought I was Nora Roberts one. I'm not. I'll take her money. She doesn't need all that money. I'll give it to y'all. Anyway, so I'm walking through the Newark airport on the way to Maine to get my kids from camp. And the way this worked for them was that I would pick up my son first, and then I would take him to a hotel, and then I would give him a bath, and then we would check out. Because the whole time he was at camp, never took a bath, lived in the lake, and he was just beyond grunge. And I was not going to stay in that hotel after that anyway, but nonetheless. So I'm walking through Newark Airport, and there's the book and the whole thing, and I get on this plane, and it's a rubber band plane. You know those ones that they scare me, they scare the liver right out of me. And so, but I go in and sit down nonetheless, and this flight attendant comes up to me, and she goes, Mrs. Frank? And I'm like, I've been recognized. I'm like such an ass. I go, yes, is this for your Aunt Mary? I'm ready to sign a book for her. And she goes, would you mind moving to the back of the plane for weight distribution? Yeah. That's a true story. Isn't that awful? I get about 20. One of these days, I'm going to write a book of just terrible things that happen on book tour where you just kind of go, oh, you can't believe it. Anyway, I'm about to publish my 15th book on June 2nd called The Hurricane Sisters. Thank you. And I'm still having an arm wrestling match with my publisher over the cover. Oh, it's coming out in like 90 days. Maybe we should pick a cover. If you go to Amazon right now, you can pre-order it. Don't go there, but if you could, go to barnesandnoble.com or buy it from an independent, even better. But if you see there's no image. No image available. That's right, there's not. And I'm making a movie with Whoopi Goldberg. Let me tell you, she's just like you think she is. She's got all the cool. All us white people, we ain't got no cool. She's the coolest woman I have ever met in my life. I went to her house for dinner. So even if the movie never gets made, I can still say I went to her house for dinner. And then I wrote the screenplay, and then they fired me. I don't care, just make the movie, you know? Anyway, they're supposed to start shooting in June. It should be out in October. It's the Christmas Pearl. And Whoopi is going to play Pearl. So I'm very, very excited about that. Yeah, isn't that something? I mean, and can I tell you something? This is the hand of God. You know, I don't know if y'all believe in the hand of God. I believe in the hand of God. When I finished writing that manuscript, I stood up in my office with the manuscript and I said, Whoopi Goldberg, I don't know where you are, but this is for you. Okay? It took 6 years, and the phone call came. And turns out she lives less than 5 minutes from my house. Isn't that something? And she didn't make it, she had a cook make it, but they made the whole dinner from the Christmas Pearl. They made a ham with fruit and my aunt's nut cake and rum balls and sands. And I mean, I was just weeping. I can't believe I'm here. She's like, you're an ass, okay? Anyway, I love you. Yeah, fine, get over it. So that's a story with Whoopi Goldberg. She is awesome. And I also have my book, Porch Lights, is up for a television series, but we'll see what happens about that. I tell you, in Hollywood, there's a lot of this. You know, in publishing, if they tell you, oh, the book cover is going to be blue, it's going to be blue. You know, in Hollywood, they say, write the screenplay, give it. You give it to them, they go, okay, radio silent for 6 months. So who knows how these things work. But that's the whole story. I can tell you anything you want. I'd love for us to do some Q&A where there's a microphone here in the room. If anybody wants to mosey up there and ask me something that's really personal and embarrassing, I'd love to answer it. And I just, I just want to say I am completely thrilled to be here. It's such a great honor. And it's so good for my heart, to see so many nice people come out to support their library, because the libraries, I think, are so very, very important. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I have a question, and I want to apologize again for confusing that other
North
state.
Carolina, Lord.
I wasn't even going to say the name of the state. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. People do it all the time.
So I read your book, Bull's Island, and in your book, you write about people whose names sound really familiar. One of the people that you wrote about was Adriana. Raise your hand if you were here last year to hear Adriana. You killed off Adriana Trigiani in the first 50 pages.
She needed to die.
Then I've been talking with your contact at HarperCollins. His name is Ben Bruton.
Yeah.
You blew him up with a Civil War era mine.
He too needed to die.
So my question...
He loved it. He loved it.
My question for you is, why do you kill your friends in your books?
Well, because I'm holding my enemies close. I don't know. I mean, I think my friends get a kick out of seeing their name show up in a story. I've used lots of friends of mine. Some of them, in fact, I think we were going to do this. We were going to auction off the right to be a character in my next book for 2015, which I do this all the time for my grammar school and my high school in Charleston and for the Hollings Cancer Center and for some other very good causes. And, it raises some money. Or we can do it as a raffle. I don't know how you've got that thing.
John, can you see me? Can y'all
I don't
hear
know
me?
how you have this figured
out.
out.
All right, so this was our great surprise. One of the things that Dottie has so graciously offered to do is to let one of you or someone you know or someone you want to kill off, you have to let her know, be a character in her book. We are going to auction that off, and I'm going to start the bidding for myself at $200. So the first bid is $200. I want to hear from you all. Raise your hand. All right, I'm looking for a bid of $250. $250 right there. All right, how about $300? I'm looking for a bid for
You're talking immortality here.
I'm
come
sorry,
on.
$300 right here. Don't you want to be in a book? You will be immortalized forever. So wait, $350. I'm looking for $350. Come on. Show
Wait a
her
minute.
that Manatee County.
$350.
All right. So we have $350. How about $400? You, Mark Marty, $400. You will be immortalized forever. Or someone you want to kill off, or someone you really love, like your mom or your mother-in-law, your good friend. You don't have to kill them off. But
No, I don't have to kill them. I mean, they could be good-looking. They could be tall, skinny, and good-looking.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to be tall, skinny, and good-looking in the next book, all right, we are at $400. I'm looking for $450. Raise your hand, $450. $450 right there. We've got $450. $500.
And then I'm coming back to Florida, and y'all have to have a book party, and I'll come to the book party.
Oh my gosh!
Okay.
We are at $500. Ladies and gentlemen, $500. $550. Do I see $550?
Wait a minute,
oh my
Lori.
$550.
Lori, quit.
Come on.
Lori.
What?
Let's say $1,000 for a husband and wife.
Okay.
Who's got $1,000 for a husband and wife? And let's just be done with this.
All right, come on. This is tax deductible.
All right.
Oh my
We got
gosh,
one.
we have $1,000.
All right. There you go.
All right. We have you two. Can we do two?
Can we do two?
Can we do two?
How odd are the names? If it's Anne and Ned, I'd be thrilled. If it's Persephone and Bullwinkle, it's kind of, No, I could do two. Sure. You want to do two?
We
2,000?
have $1,000 here. We have $1,000 there. You all rock. We have just raised $2,000. All right. Thank you. Come find Scarlett. Scarlett, stand up. Come find Scarlett after the auction. She will get money from you. So does anyone else want to ask some questions?
You just give the money to me. No.
I'm sorry, wait a minute.
No, just give it to Lori.
Wait. I thought you said that this is something you do this because you believe in the libraries and you're trying to take the money?
No, babe. No, just the name and money. It's, I just want to check the names. See. All right, y'all, thank you. Are there any other questions? Anybody else have a question? Yes, ma'am.
The lady who fell in the manhole, is she still married to that guy?
No, he died. Let me tell you, he made a wise choice because she was mad at him. Let me tell you. Yeah, he died a terrible death. And listen, while he was sick, she had to pay the bills for the first time in their whole marriage because he used to get paid in his office, and she discovered he had a girlfriend over in Madison, I swear, yeah, and a BMW and the whole thing and a condo. And then he died. He did. It's terrible. Anybody else have a question? Over here in the green top? Do I have a real life Livy in my life, like from Sullivan's Island? I used to. Her name was Ella Wright, and she was wonderful. She spoke Gullah, and I spoke Gullah before I spoke English. You know, we all spoke Gullah. We were just a bunch of little geechee brats on the island, you know. Yeah, I sure did. She was amazing. She was amazing. She's the reason we're not all in a treatment program somewhere. I'm sure of that. Yeah. Yes.
Hi. Your writing process. Do you have multiple books going at the same time? How much time each day do you spend on your writing? Or just how do you go about creating your books?
That's really a very good question. I spend all day, you know, all day, every day, and I only write one book at a time. Sometimes, though, as I'm finishing a book, it's sort of like standing on a train platform. You see this train's pulling out of the station, and here comes another one up the track. So I already know what my next book is going to be about, even though I'm still doing the copy edits on this one. I have a vague idea. But that's sort of how it works. You know, they just kind of, the stories just come to you, because especially now after writing 15 books, I don't want to ever write the same book again, which I never do. At least I work very hard not to. So there's a woman she's from, I guess Murrells Inlet would be the area of South Carolina. Her name was Julia Peterkin, and she's the only woman in South Carolina to ever win a Pulitzer. So she won for fiction, and it was called Sister Scarlet Mary, and she lived around the same time as Dorothy and DuBose Hayward. And I'm just fascinated with that period of time, and no one has ever written a big fiction book about Julia Peterkin. And, you know, I think that there are a lot of worthy people in every state. I mean, I'll get to North Carolina eventually. Just kidding. No, I have great friends in North Carolina. Just ragging on you, Lori, sorry. So I'd like to see what she's still got left to say. She's an amazing woman. This woman, she wrote this story, Sister Scarlet Mary, because she lived on this big plantation, and many of the people who were slaves, the next generation, stayed there. And so she sort of wrote this story about their life, and they all say she ripped it off, and everybody was mad at her and the whole thing. But anyway, she married this guy, Peterkin, moved to the plantation, got pregnant, went into labor after 9 months, and her daddy was her OBGYN. Hello. Anyway, she was in labor for a very long time, and they decided to put her to sleep to deliver the baby by cesarean, and they did, and they gave her a hysterectomy at the same time and didn't tell her. So when she woke up, she was pissed off in purple, plaid, paisley, puce, and lavender. I mean, so it's a great story. She wouldn't get out of bed for 2 years, and because she was mad, you know. And anyways, we'll tell you all about Julia Peterkin next summer, right? But she was an amazing character, and I want to really dig into her life to see if I can find a story worth telling there that we don't know, so that we can stomach. Anyway, yes, back here. Yes.
Can you come up to the microphone so everyone can hear you?
You've got a good haircut. Could you please tell me where you got your haircut? Look at my hair. I brought Adriana's hair with me, okay? Oh, God, it's like out of control.
Thank you. I have two questions.
Sure.
You were talking about research about this woman that you're about to write about, and
Right.
I just wondered how much research you do for each of your books. And do you write longhand or do you use a computer?
I use a computer, and I do a lot of research. I do research until I can't stand it anymore, you know, until I've found what I think is enough to tell the story. My new book that's coming out, The Hurricane Sisters, is about domestic violence, because I was writing about breast cancer, and then I decided that I didn't want to have this girl work for Susan G. Komen or Planned Parenthood, as I began to discover that they're still at odds with each other, because I didn't want to write about two organizations that I believe they both do a lot of good work. You know, it's like the Catholic Church. They do a lot of things right, and then they goof things up. So I started looking for another sort of topic to write about, and I ran over a statistic quite by accident that said that South Carolina is the #1 state in the United States where women die of domestic violence. More women die in the state of South Carolina. And I was horrified. And I thought, oh my God, how can this be? Smiling faces, beautiful places, South Carolina with its beaches. And I think Condé Nast just said it was the #1 tourist destination in the country and all this stuff. And I thought, you know what? Domestic violence is something we don't talk about because there's so much shame in it and so much embarrassment in it. And I'm going to find a way to tell this story so that we make domestic violence something that's going to be on the tip of our tongues. We're all going to talk about it. Thanks. You'll be happy to know Florida is not in the top 10. So, but it's such a crazy, terrible problem. It is?
Okay, so
oh, dang, okay.
So
Make
you
it
said
good,
you
babe.
published your first book, your mom passed away, and you did it, you're going to buy the house. That was not the first thing you ever wrote, though, was it?
Yes, it was.
You hadn't...
I'd written things in school, but I never tried to write anything for publication before. I took 2 years to write Sullivan's Island because I didn't know how to write a book. And I took a creative writing course. One.
At the library.
That's true. At Bloomfield College in Bloomfield, New Jersey, I took one. I said, that's all I need to know. Oh, yeah, right. Anyway, I should have stuck around for a little bit. So anyway, is there any more? Just one more question? What do you think? Somebody, yes.
Come over here.
Oh. No, it doesn't matter.
I'm going to repeat the question. The question was, do you recommend we read your books in order?
No, but I recommend you buy them all. I don't care how you read them. Just kidding. There are 2 sequels. Low Country Summer is a sequel to Plantation, and Return to Sullivan's Island is obviously the sequel to Sullivan's Island. Yeah.
Okay.
One more.
This really is the last
And then
one.
I'm going to, 2 more. There's a lady behind you. She's already standing up. And she's got a good top. I'll be signing books after this, too, if y'all want any more books signed. Yeah.
Hi, I'm a native South Carolinian from Mount Pleasant.
God bless you, babe.
And
From the land of my people. Yeah.
The question I have for you is, in Sullivan's Island, there is a terrific sex scene, and I wondered if that was from someone...
I was a much younger woman then.
I just wondered if that was a true story. It
Are you
just
talking
sounded
about the toe-sucking scene? Now, why the hell would I
I'm
tell
talking
you?
I'm talking about the one, maybe it wasn't that, I'm getting the books mixed up, but it was the one where they're out in the intercoastal waterway and the boat is drifted
That's
away
Isle of
from
Palms.
the... Yes.
Yeah, did that ever happen to me? I'm going to tell you this. I don't care if you are from Mount Pleasant.
Aw, shucks.
I'll tell you later. No, of course it wasn't true. It's fiction.
Hi, I know a Julia Pritikin in South Carolina.
They're probably related.
Yes, and if you want to know some stories, I know them pretty well.
I do. I'd love to hear. Give me your phone number before we.
You want everyone to have it, or shall I give it to you?
No, just give it to me in a few minutes.
Okay.
Y'all want her phone number for a good time. No. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I want to thank you all again so much for coming, for being such great supporters of our library. Please, if you haven't filled out your little card or put money in the envelope, please do so.
$2.
No, we want more than $2. She's very kind.
2 in cash, I'll call up.
And if you write your email address on the back of the envelope, Dottie says she'll send you a thank you note, a personal thank you note. So, thank you. We're going to have more book signings. Please support Bookstore One. They are our bookstore. Their books are out in the lobby, and we're going to do some more book signings. You all, thank you so much for coming. See you next year. Hi, I'm Lori Dorman, and I have the honor of being the president of the Manatee County Library Foundation. We are here on the morning of our 27th annual author luncheon, and I am so excited to introduce our guest, Dorothea Benton Frank. Dorothea, can I call you Dot?
Call me Dot.
We are so excited to have you here today.
Well,
is this your first time in Manatee County?
It is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there probably is. It's beautiful, beautiful place.
Now
I haven't seen any manatees, but waiting for that.
We have those at the South Florida Museum. We have Snooty the manatee. He is one of our longest residents. We will make sure you meet him.
Sure.
So I wanted to talk to you today about libraries and about writing and the things that are nearest and dearest to your heart. When we spoke earlier, you were telling me about some of your experiences at the library growing up. Tell us about that.
Well, I have a whole philosophy about libraries. First of all, I think that they are most definitely the cornerstone of a civilized society. They're gathering places, they're places of escape, they're safe harbors, they're all kinds of things. They provide so many services to communities. And when I was a child, growing up on Sullivan's Island in South Carolina, the only thing we had was a library. There were no bookstores, there was no Amazon. So reading was what we did all summer long because it was so unbelievably hot and humid. So we did a lot of reading. And, I'd get on my bike and go down to the Sullivan's Island Library and take 3 books and bring them home and read them and go back the next day and get 3 more. And then the bookmobile came by, which was great, so we'd get more books. So that's what you did. And I learned very early on that there actually was life on the other side of the causeway because of the local library.
What were some of the books that you remember loving when you were a little girl?
Oh, God. Gosh, I read everything. I read, Elsie Dinsmore and the Bobbsey Twins and Nancy Drew and all those books. And then later on I read, Jane Austen and, Aldous Huxley and whatever else I could find. I always loved science fiction when I was young, so.
Do you remember reading any of the Dr. Seuss books kind of as a first reader?
No, I never read Dr. Seuss. I didn't. I'm sure. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe Seuss missed me somehow.
I'm sure you're not. I remember reading the Nancy Drew books and wishing that Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys were people that went to my school.
Oh, definitely.
They were so cool.
Oh, they were totally cool.
So, how did you become a writer? What was the impetus for you doing this amazing thing that you've done?
Well, I was a community volunteer, and I raised money for the arts and for education in New Jersey and in the New York area. And my mother passed away very suddenly. And usually when you begin a new career in midlife, there's some shocking event that brings you to the writing table because it's a crazy place to go. But when you sit down to write, you can also sort of get everything out of your system. And so I began to write this story. It was a coming-of-age story about growing up in the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement, set against growing up in the 90s, which my children were growing up in the 90s, and they were living in this bubble. And I would say, oh, you don't understand the Vietnam War. And they'd say, oh, please, that was so long ago. I'd say, oh, the Civil Rights Movement. Oh, Mom, please, it's so over. Or the women's movement. They didn't give any of this stuff any credence. But somehow, when you put something in writing and you publish it, it becomes that much more real. And I began to get, emails and phone calls and letters from people I hadn't seen in 30 years to say, I'm so glad you wrote this story because it makes it so real for my children. So that's how I started writing.
So today, who do you like to read?
Oh, gosh. Who do I like to read? I like to read everyone. I read across all genres. In fiction, I really like Meg Wolitzer. I think she's very smart, very funny, very clever writer. She has a new book out this summer called The Interestings, which was just great. And I read men. I read Pat Conroy because he's my good friend, and I love to see what he's up to. Just read his new book, The Death of Santini. And I have to read all the Southern writers because I need to see what my friends are doing, right? So, I read a lot of stuff. I read a lot of things for research, too, that would probably bore you to death. But in fiction, I read probably the same things you read.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we talked about earlier was your kids, William, learning how to read. Tell our viewers how important it was for you that your children became good readers.
Well, it's everything. If you can't read, you can't get along in this world. But when William was about 2.5 years old, we always read to our children every day. We read them books. I always said, no, you can't buy toys all the time, but if you ever want a book, you can have it. As long as it was age appropriate or whatever. So it was Halloween, and in Montclair they decorate their yards for Halloween, and they put tombstones and bodies coming up out of the ground and all this crazy stuff, So we were riding down the street one day, and William was in the back seat in his chair, his little kid's seat, baby seat, and he goes, "Rip." And I said, what did you say? And Victoria, my daughter, who was 4.5 at the time, he said, rest in peace, Mommy. I was like, okay, it's gonna rip. So every time I see anything that has RIP on it, I always send it to him. I just send him a pencil cup. Anyway, yeah. But William also learned to write his name by tracing the letters in the New York Times. He's a whip, this kid. Now he's in law school. He's gonna be a lawyer just like you.
I'm on behalf of all of us, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry,
so
right?
sorry.
No, he's a great
So
kid.
sorry.
He's not a kid, he's 25, but anyway.
You know, it's really exciting to have someone like you, a New York Times bestselling author, come to Manatee County and talk about what means the world to her, reading and writing and libraries. That is such an amazing thing. We are so happy to have you here.
I'm honored to be here and thrilled.
If there was anything you could tell someone who's thinking about cutting funding to a library, a legislator somewhere out there who is watching this,
I tell them give up their dental program first. I mean, you must be crazy to cut funding to a library. I mean, how uncivilized is that? That's terrible. No, you have to support your libraries. They hold the community together. That's the community hub. You know, not everybody goes to the Baptist church and the Methodist church or whatever. Some people just go to libraries. Senior citizens, young children, the disenfranchised, kids who need a computer. I mean, it's crazy. No, you have to support your library.
We are so
Just my
fortunate
opinion.
here. Well, it's an opinion that's shared
You're
by
very fortunate here.
me.
You have over 400 people coming to this lunch today?
We do. We have 428 people, I believe, coming
I think
today.
y'all are in pretty good shape around here for library support, at least from the public anyway.
I hope so. Our libraries mean the world to me personally.
Sure.
Like you, when I was a little girl, there was nothing more fun than going to the library and checking out a whole stack of books and then going back and getting a whole stack more. That was so much fun.
Yep.
So if someone asked you today what the most important book was that you read, what book would you say?
Oh my Lord, what a question. You must have stayed up all night for that one. What's the most important book? I don't know. I think I think probably The Water is Wide by Pat Conroy, because I didn't know you could write a book like that and you could say the things that he said. And I think in reading that small but very important book, it made me understand that you can say whatever you want to say on paper and use words to make people listen to what it is that you want to say, to be understood. And I think one of the reasons that writers write in the first place is because they want to be understood.
Well, I think that is a wonderful way to end our interview. I thank you so much for talking to us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
And I thank you even more for coming here and being
Thrilled to be here.
our author at our 27th annual author luncheon.
Thank you.
you.